In today's math lesson, we're going to graph a horizontal or vertical line. Let's help ourselves out with a quick review from a previous lesson first. All right, horizontal lines. So we remember that a horizontal line is a flat line that goes left to right, right to left. And in our previous lesson, we learned that all of these lines have an equation of the format y equaling a number. And that number is very much specifically where our flat horizontal line crosses the y-axis. That is the number that we're looking for. We also learned that this is going to show us that all horizontal lines have a zero slope. We also learned in the previous lesson that vertical lines are lines that are straight up and down somewhere on your coordinate plane, nice and straight, and all of their equations are of the format where x is equal to a number. And that number is wherever our vertical line happened to cross the x-axis. We also learned that all of these equations, all of our vertical lines, have an undefined slope. All right, let's get to graphing. Example 1, we need to graph the equation where x is equal to -4. From the introduction, we learned that all equations where x is equal to a number are going to create vertical lines. And we learned that all vertical lines have an undefined slope. So this process is really simple and friendly. Since our equation is x equals, we look for the x-axis, and the number that they give us, which happens to be a -4 for us, we plot that point here on the x-axis. And then you need just a second point vertically above or below our -4, and it doesn't even matter how many spaces. So I'm going to put it here. It's just straight above. It has an undefined slope. It doesn't matter where you put it. And then use your ruler or your straight edge to connect your points and draw your vertical line. And there you go. Example 2. We are going to graph the equation where y is equal to -10. We learned in the introduction that all equations where y is equal to a number happen to be that of a horizontal line. And we learned in the introduction that all horizontal lines have zero slope. So to do this, we find the y-axis because our equations are y equals a number. And we find the point, the location that we were given as it was in our equation for us is -10 all the way down here at the bottom. And then we draw another point. We place another point anywhere flat horizontally along the same height or lack thereof of -10. I'm going to place it there. As long as it's just out to one side, it doesn't matter how many units. And then use your straight edge to connect your points. And there you go. Example 3, we're going to graph the equation where x is equal to 1. In the introduction, we learned that any equation that is x equaling a number is going to be a vertical line. And in the introduction, we learned that all vertical lines have an undefined slope. So we find the value given to us in our equation on the x-axis, as this is an x equals equation. So here's my x-axis. And we place the value of 1 right here on our x-axis. And then we just plot a second point anywhere vertically above or below our first one. I'm going to place it all the way down here at the bottom. Why not? And then grab your straight edge to connect your points. And there you go. Example 4. We're going to graph the equation of y equals -7. We learned in the introduction that all equations that are y equals a number are always horizontal lines. And we learned that all horizontal lines have 0 slope. So our y-axis is here in the center, nice and vertical. And we know to use it because our equation is y equals. So let's go find our -7 on the y-axis. Here it is. And then we plot a second point just somewhere flat horizontally out from it. I'm going to place it here. Because you can. It really doesn't matter how far out you go or don't go. And then use your handy dandy ruler to connect your 2 points. And there you go. On our 5th and final example, we're going to graph the equation of x equaling 90. We learned in the introduction that all equations that are x equals a number are going to be vertical lines. And all vertical lines have an undefined slope. With our x-axis being this horizontal one that is running flat through the center of our graph, we find 90, the value that was given to us, here on our x-axis. And then we grab a second point somewhere above it or somewhere below it. And I'm choosing that one right there. It does not matter which one you choose as long as it's in a vertical line, either directly above or directly below the value that we were looking for of 90. And then use your handy dandy straight edge to connect your points. And there you go.